Welcome to the Road to the Victory podcast, where we help you unlock your full potential and achieve your goals. Are you tired of feeling stuck procrastinating and wasting precious time on your phone? You are not alone. In this episode, Mindful Mastery, Overcoming Self-Sabotage in an Era of Distractions, we are joined by Amy Suzanne McCae, a leading expert in mental wellness and resilience. Together, we all explore practical strategies to overcome self-sabotage, build mental strength, and cultivate a winning mindset, from breaking the cycle of procrastination to reclaiming control over your phone usage. We all dive into actionable tips to help you take charge of your life and achieve success on your own terms. Join us on this transformative journey and discover the power of mindful mastery to unlock your full potential. Hi, Amy. Welcome to my podcast, The Road to Victory. Thank you for joining us today. To start, could you share your history with us? We'd like to hear about your background and journey.
Sure. Thank you for being here and for inviting me. I really appreciate that. So my background is really, I have a passion for healing. It was lifelong. I knew I wanted to be a doctor when I was 3. Ironically, though, or sadly, my mom died when I was 20, and that changed my whole perspective on medicine and healing. And then I spent my 20s chronically ill, 9 different urologists, went to the bathroom 30, 40 times a day. I was a mess. And then I had a baby at 29, and I had a day when I was too sick to take care of her. So then I decided I ended up having to crawl to the phone to get help. So I decided I wasn't going to live that way anymore. And I discovered fitness, nutrition, and meditation. And with those things, I changed my whole life. And I thought, well, I should share this with others. So I just started getting certifications and training, and it became a lifestyle, just an entire lifestyle. So that's really how it got going, and it just keeps growing. If I have something occur in my life that's challenging, I use some of those tools, and then I expand upon them or grow upon them, and use that to help other people. I find that with age, I'm 50, so with age, wisdom is really important. So despite all my education, a lot of it comes from experience and wisdom, and understanding myself.
Cool. Amy, how do you define self-sabotage? And what are some common behaviors that people may not even realize are holding them back?
So define self-sabotage?
Yes.
Yeah, well, those are kind of those things we do to ourselves that knowingly or unknowingly that are, diminishing our true selves from shining bright and showing through. And a lot of times examples of that might be our critical voice in our heads, poor behaviors that are just bad habits. Habits, habits and thinking habits, critical thinking habits, those things, not asking enough questions, not being kind enough to ourselves, having perfectionism, imposter syndrome are really common hot topics. Being able to become aware of those gives you a space of being empowered. When you know that, then you can make a different choice, right?
I mean, many of us often deal with the feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt, questioning our worth and why we may not feel good enough to succeed. Overthinking can be a major obstacle to success. What are some techniques you recommend for quieting the mind and gaining clarity?
So for quieting the mind, first of all, you're always breathing, right? So there's no reason you can't pay attention to your breath. So you want to get your attention off of it. So if you're regretting, if we're not in the present moment, you're regretting the past or anxious about the future or whatever's going on there, if you can get yourself in the present moment, you're going to have a lot more opportunity for success. So just something as simple as noticing the airflow under your nostrils, or the rise and fall of your chest, or the expansion and contraction of your abdomen, or then just the inhale and exhale of your diaphragm. There's multiple different ways to do mindful breathing. Some people have a preference to counting. So you might inhale, Navy SEALs, for example, inhale for 5, hold for 5, exhale for 5, hold for 5. Make the exhale longer. That's a good starting point, like breathe, because you're always breathing. You don't have to have any fancy tools. And we know that it calms the nervous system. You can't have both parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems activate at the same time. So that deactivates that fight, flight, or freeze response. So that's always a good place to start. I mean, there's a number of different things. You might sense your hands and feet. That's one way to kind of start getting into it, or your core muscles, kind of way to get into that. Someone that has anxiety, we sometimes suggest the 5 to 1 method, which is like name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can smell, 2 things you can hear, 1 thing you can taste, something like that. Doesn't even matter what order. But again, what that does is get you grounded in the present moment. And that helps you be able to make a decision from there, whatever that is you might need. It might be a big decision, might need to just calm down, whatever, but that gets you focused and centered.
That's very interesting how oxygens help you to stay in calm, in being in balance. And also this technique about, so you're talking about feeling your feet, it helps you be in the present moment, right?
Yeah.
Your past mistakes are meant to guide you, not to define you. I mean, how can we learn to let go of past mistakes and regrets and instead of use them as opportunities for growth?
Well, it's very difficult sometimes to change the mindset. Like we always want to try to change, I do coaching work. So we want to try to change your perspective, right? If you're sitting there thinking that you failed, it's not a good idea. So getting a little bit of perspective is probably, it can be very difficult. So it's probably ideal to consider your successes. Like what have you been successful at? And what are your strengths? When we focus on our strengths, like when you are in a relationship, whether personal or professional, whatever that is, you want someone to see the good in you and what you're good at, and you want to grow what you're good at. So that's what you have to look at is, all right, well, I messed up over here. Maybe I could have done better. Or maybe we practice forgiveness and think, you know what, that's all I knew at that time. If I knew what I knew now, yeah, I would make a different choice, but I didn't then. So forgiveness for yourself, and then being able to say, okay, what am I good at? What are my strengths? And do those things, focus on your strengths, and then help other people build their strengths as well.
Focus that you can control rather than the
Yeah.
weakness, right?
Don't
So,
focus on the weakness. There are going to be things and people and events that you have no control over, and that will destroy any potential for inner peace. So, and you don't want to avoid it. Like honor, if you're having a negative feeling, like people get angry or they get sad. If you're having a difficult feeling, like we always say in mindfulness, to invite it in for tea and make friends with it, because what you resist persists. So, if you're feeling kind of icky, sit with it for a bit and then let it be what it is, and then you can move on. It's a lot easier to move on when you've acknowledged it. Think about anybody that has been, like if you're in a difficult position and you can't get out of it, somebody telling you, oh, just get over it. That doesn't work, right? That never works.
no.
You have to understand what happened. You have to ask some questions. So I always say, cultivate some compassion and curiosity for yourself, for those emotions that are going on in your body and your mind and whatnot. And then it's easier to let them go. Then you can move forward.
Cool. Are you aware that even a brief moment of boredom can trigger automatic use of our phones to check social media? This habitual behavior activates dopamine in our brains, influencing our thoughts and actions. I mean, how can individuals overcome the tendency to avoid the present moment through distractions, denial, or escapism? And what mindfulness strategies can they use to cultivate a greater awareness and acceptance of their thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations in the here and now?
Related to social media, how can we do that?
Yeah, we escape from the reality. We don't stay for
Oh,
we don't accept to be without
yeah,
doing
we don't stay
anything.
present.
Yeah, we don't stay present. What we do is take our phones and get distracted. We
Scroll
find
mindlessly,
and
right?
yeah,
Yeah,
we just want to be distracted, and that's the unlimited. You cannot stop that behavior to be distracted, and you have actually I'm encouraging people to stay where they are without doing anything for just
just a
five
little bit,
10 minutes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, I like to encourage people to have like phone breaks, because that's what you feel. People are always scrolling on their phones. Like put the phone in another room for a little bit. You would want to
Mhm.
be present with somebody. Like you want someone to be fully present and listening, engaged with you. Why wouldn't you offer that to someone else? You know, to me, it seems like common sense, but even I occasionally get like scrolling on mindless stuff. So set timers. I mean, that's obviously kind of something I say, if you're spending time doing, like, get back to what is purposeful and meaningful in your life. Then it's easier to let that stuff go. Like get some hobbies, be creative, go have fun. Whatever that is for you. Maybe it's reading a book, maybe it's going to concerts, like spend your time,
Mhm.
or maybe it's volunteering for something that needs, there's an organization. We all have things that we're naturally good at. We all have things that we just naturally love. So if we could just be like, okay, I'm going to spend more time doing that. And my phone tells me how many hours I spend on social media, and that's enough for me to say, oh crap, I don't want to do that. And I'm a single mom. I want to spend time with my kids. I want to make sure they feel loved. And then I don't ever want to be distracted by my phone if I'm with a client, or I don't want to go down a rabbit hole. I mean, if you just happen to notice how you feel after you've been scrolling social media, you can accidentally go down some rabbit holes, some really scary things. And I think I can only control what goes on in my little part of the world and what goes on within me. So I just keep trying to come back to that. And every now, I'm very human. So every now and then I go down a rabbit hole, or my hand gets sore, falls asleep because I was scrolling too long. So I'm very human. And then I'm like, oh, that's right. That's not who you want to be. So coming back to who do you want to be? What difference do you want to make in the world? And trying to do more of that. And I've been very deliberate about my news feed so that it comes up to be only things that are work related, kid related. Try to be like, it still stuff shows up, but I try to be, so that's what's on my brain. Like that's what I want my mind to be full of, not a whole bunch of other crap. Because you could just, and I just am always in shock by the things people say. I'll be reading comments. I'm like, nope, get off, Amy. You don't want to go read the comments. You don't want to get involved in this drama. So yeah. Or use it for learning, like LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. I learn so much from people on LinkedIn.
Cool.
So use it as a tool instead of it using it. AI in general, like
Yeah.
we need to use it to be more human. Like we should be delegating tasks to us that make our lives where we can go be humans, like where we feel and sense and connect.
Self-sabotage can also be seen in the form of people-pleasing. Amy, how can people break free from the pattern of people-pleasing and develop a healthy sense of worth? And what strategies can they use to set boundaries and prioritize their own needs without feeling guilty or responsible for the happiness of others?
Okay, so relating the happiness of others, are you
Yeah.
happy trying to make other people happy? I mean, ask yourself that question. Are you really truly happy when you're trying to make people happy? I think if this comes from a place of self-worth, like what are your thoughts about self-worth or lacking self-worth? Like, and then I think the number one question when you're discovering these thoughts and things that you have, these patterns, like especially thoughts, like if you're having this thought that there's a thought behind your behavior that's driving that behavior. You have a belief that's driving that people-pleasing behavior. So if you can become aware of that thought, you can ask yourself, is that true? Because a big chunk of the time, it's a bunch of BS. It's not even true. So you can ask yourself that, and then it doesn't have so much power. You can be like, sometimes I ask myself and I think, oh my gosh, you've got to be kidding. I mean, you're acting on this, like this is stupid. So I can just be like, oh, I'll do something else differently with it then when I know that. I have had to let go of 6 people in my life in 6 months last year because I thought I was having appropriate boundaries when I was not. And so I had to let them go. So, and these people were not, they were doing some things. I mean, they were deal breakers. So that's a way you set boundaries, or what are your core values? Okay. So narrow down your top, and you can Google core values online. I have worksheets or whatnot. Google core values, get a list and come up with the top 5 and align yourself with people and places and events and things that are within those values. And that's a really easy way, because you'll be like, oh, that person doesn't fit into my values. No wonder it's so hard to be around them. And then also you'll be more authentic. You won't self-sabotage, because you'll be like, okay, if I line up with these 5 core values, with most of what I do and think and behave, you become extraordinarily confident. And some of those people kind of fall out of your life, sometimes painfully, but some of those people fall out of your life. And then you can, if you have to deal with them, like I have to deal with 2 people that I don't want to have to deal with, I literally keep every conversation very short, and I don't reply to things I don't want to reply to. I just don't. And it was very hard at first. There's all this, inside of me, because I get upset when I have to deal with these people, and what they're doing is manipulating, or they're doing things that are hurtful. I'm hurting when I deal with these people, but I am bound to 2 of them, 2 people that I absolutely have to have some contact with. So I'm just very much so nonchalant about it. Like I treat it like a business deal. because it is to some degree a business deal. If it's not, but that's what works for me. Values and then just choosing very selectively how to communicate with those people. Both of them, I kind of only text and I keep it very, very short. So there's just ways to not be engaged. That's probably the big thing. Don't engage with people that are soul sucking. And people pleasing, it's a habit, a pattern in your brain. A lot of our behaviors are started from 0 to 8. Your brain frequencies are at this level where you're just a sponge. So you've soaked up all this stuff and all this behaviors, and then guess what? You play it out the rest of your life. So that behavior probably started when you were a very young child. Unfortunately, I'm a parent, I made plenty of mistakes. So when you can recognize it though, then you have a choice, like what's driving it? Ask yourself.
I mean, I struggle with procrastination and often find myself getting sucked into social media vortex, wasting valuable time that could be spent on something more meaningful. I mean, how can develop a greater self-awareness and self-regulation to minimize distractions and stay on track with our goals? What strategies do you recommend for managing our time and energy more intentionally in maintaining a consistency flow of productivity?
I'm a huge fan of something called block scheduling. It's about the simplest way in which to organize your schedule. So it saves you time.
How
And
it is?
then, so I just set it up. So like my Monday mornings are usually always emails and social media, like work social media stuff. I have to post, I send connection requests, I answer emails and whatnot. So there's a block of time. I have a block of time that's like sending emails to potential clients. I have a block of time that is networking events, a block of time that's scheduling. I just do these in these couple hour time frames. It helps your attention span because we're not well, you can block it as the amount of time you want. I do good to have like a 90-minute block and then I take a break. And that's a good way to monitor your social media. You don't like, I shut off my phone, it's over here, but it is shut off.
Sure.
I have to have it because I have a 12-year-old, so I have to have some potential if I had an emergency. But just don't touch it. Like go say, I'm going to sit for 90 minutes or 2 hours. I'm going to do these things. This block of time is for this. And then you only touch your social media or check your email. I don't have my email notifications on. They are off because I would get nothing done but stinking email or social media scrolling. So I just do blocks and then you check it
Oh,
and
that's
then satisfied because otherwise
mhm.
your whole day feels like I have a huge long list of like there's a pile of papers beneath me that there's a long list of things to do for various different things. But I'm like, I'm not ever going to get it all done. And there's going to be another list before that gets done. And then you just feel like it's constant. I'm always just doing something, always doing something. This way, it's like, okay, focused energy for that 90 minutes or 2 hours or even an hour or heck, 30 minutes. Like if you're not used to staying focused for long, start with what you can do so that you set yourself up for success. And then you pause,
Yes.
get up, get a snack, drink some water, take a walk, meditate, exercise. Like when we get done, I have 2 things I need to do, and then I'm going to go work out. I have it set up so that and I'll have to check. I post on Monday, so I do have to check my social media more on Mondays. Tomorrow, though, I do videos all day long, so I will not be on social media for the most part. So I set that up though. And again, to feel satisfied, I block schedule because then you're like, yep, check it off. I got something done. Because we do feel more
Yeah.
satisfied when we can say we got something done. Well, if you just set your day and you're just working all day long and there's still a pile of things to do when you're done, that's disheartening,
Yeah,
right?
that's
It's
yes,
not,
yes. You just waste your time. That
yes.
happens. It happens to me all the time. I come here and try to work, and yeah, I spend 1 hour in my phone, an hour, and then
Our
and then
work
I
first.
and I feel bad and I feel guilty, and I just spend 1 hour doing nothing.
I think.
We
Well, and
we
changing your workspace too. Sometimes I work from home, so sometimes
um
I'll go to the coffee shop or just move to my kitchen table. Like sometimes I just have to have, or I move outside because I focus better. There's a coffee shop that's
yeah.
about 2 miles from me that lets me, I take an extension cord and I can plug it in and sit on my laptop outside. So that helps me too. The other day I'm like, I'm not getting anything done. Like I have no focus. Okay, I'm going to
Mhm.
leave. I'm going to go somewhere else. But it starts with that awareness being like, okay, I scroll social media too much, or I don't get focused today, so I have to do something else.
You
Or
should
sometimes, what do you need? You might need to eat. You might need a nap. you know?
Yes, you change
Mm.
your environment. And
Yeah.
we often engage in negative self-talk, thinking things like, I will never have that car, I will never own a house, I will never get married. This kind of internal dialogue can be quite depressing and can unconsciously set us up for failure. Since our inner speech shapes our outer experience. What are some strategies for recognizing and reframing negative self-talk? Additionally, how can cultivating positive self-talk practices such as affirmation and self-compassion impact our mental well-being and resilience?
Yeah, that's a really, really powerful question, because I think this is at the root of a lot of people's problems. Um, we have, I don't know, 40,000, 60,000 thoughts a day, right? So that's a
Yes.
lot of thinking that could get us in a lot of trouble. So first of all, you have to learn to notice them. And maybe perhaps the best way to notice them is to look at like a behavior that you have that's having a negative impact on your life, and think about your thoughts about that, because your thoughts are what's kind of driving your thoughts and emotions are driving those behaviors a little bit. So you want to be able to recognize that. Like, you can't do anything about it if you don't know it. I sit down and journal sometimes about it, and I have all kinds of worksheets on these things about what they are. And then, of course, I always come back to, is it true? That's a simple question. You don't need 12,000 worksheets to do that. Once you recognize that thought, just ask yourself, is it true? Um, yeah. Affirmations. I sleep listening to affirmations a lot of times.
Yes.
I have sitting here right at my desk, I have something wonderful is happening for me now with a smiley face. I have a win, what's your best part of your day? And then I also have some loving compassion, loving kindness. This says, may I be at ease, may I be at peace, may I be well, may I be loved. So um, I like to think they help. I mean, sometimes I question it, but I think that it's probably good to try to put some of those positive things into your mind. But I do those a variety of different ways. Like I said, I fall asleep listening to meditation audios that have affirmations. I have them sitting here. I sometimes do meditations that like that loving kindness meditation, where you're offering loving kindness to yourself and you're offering compassion to another person as well. So those are the mindfulness based ways that we do.
Awesome. Yeah, overthinking, sometimes we just think and to do something and you just spend the time thinking how we're gonna do it, and then we waste our energy in our heads and never do it.
I
That's
never do it.
Yes, never do it and never take action. Never. That's that's horrible. I used to have this problem with overthinking, and I tried meditation. Really helped me a lot. Really, it also helped me with the sleep and confidence and all this stuff. That's why I think meditation is a wonderful medicine.
It is exactly that. And some people say they can't meditate, but that's why I always say, you're always breathing. Just pay attention to your breath for a few moments, just breathe for a little bit. You're always alive, there's more right with you than wrong if you're breathing. So if you can take that perspective, even if things feel really awful, you're still more right than wrong if you can breathe. And then again, you always say, pay attention to your body. You always have a body too. So you can't tell me that you can. And it will tell you, your body will tell you so many things. There's a felt sense in it. Like when you're sensing your feet, like you're sensing into your feet, there might be a temperature, there might be a sensation. It's not thinking about your feet. So it's actually sensing into that. And you can do that with every part of your body. And it can be a really grounding process. It can be traumatic if someone has a history of trauma. So you have to be, cautious. Or if somebody's stressed, you wouldn't want to tell them to do deep, heavy breathing. That might make it worse. So obviously there's some contradictions potentially, but pay attention and you'll figure out something that works.
Practice self-awareness.
Yeah, that is my favorite thing. Yeah, self-awareness. It is kind of a crappy thing too, because when you discover all the crappy things about yourself too.
About yourself, yes.
Yeah, there's that.
You you see your bad behaviors, and unconsciously you didn't even know
You
you
didn't even
had
know,
it.
and then you have to do something about it. Then you have to be accountable and like say you're sorry and make changes, which is really hard when your brain is wired to be doing things this way your entire life, to be able to do that. But I don't know, you just do one at a time, right? Just one thing at a time, work towards it.
As we conclude our conversation today, Amy, what do you think is the most important factor that distinguishes those who achieve their goals and live fulfilling lives from those who struggle with self-doubt and sabotage their own success? Or in other words, what is the secret of success?
I think having enough self-awareness to know who you are, what you love, and act on it. Like when you start doing the things you love, just spend more time doing things you love. You'll feel successful. You'll generate more success. Focus on your strengths. Those are the things that are successful. Think about it. It's kind of common sense, but people don't do it. I mean, it's the action step of being like, you know what? I'm going to go do what I love. Like I'm going to spend time doing what I love, because it's kind of common sense that you would feel successful if you spent time doing what you're good at and what you love. If you can figure out ways, I outsource stuff I don't like, hire someone, trade someone. You know, even, I don't have the budget to hire someone, trade them. You have a skill, they have a skill, trade them. I find that is very powerful, very, very powerful to success. Then you feel successful. And then guess what? The universe provides more opportunities for you to be successful.
When you are thankful,
Yeah.
you're open. Hey there, awesome listeners. It's time to wrap up another inspiring episode of the Road to the Victory podcast. A big shout out to all of you for being part of this journey with us. Your support and involvement truly make a difference. In today's episode, Mindful Mastery, Conquering Self-Sabotage in a World of Distractions, we dive into the tricky realm of self-sabotage and how it sneaks us on us, hindering our progress. Our amazing guest, Amy Suzanne, shares some valuable insights using mindfulness to overcome these hurdles. We talk about spotting the signs of self-sabotage, the power of awareness, and practical ways to cultivate mindful mastery. If you want to keep the conversation going and stay tuned for more upcoming episodes, make sure to follow us on Facebook, Spotify, and YouTube, The Road to the Victory. Amy's programs are accredited and offer a deep dive into enhancing mental health, well-being, and resilience for success. Definitely worth checking out. As we wrap up, remember this: no one is coming to save you, and you have to realize that sometimes your worst enemy is yourself. Thanks once again for tuning in, and we'll catch you again on our next adventure on the road to the victory. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Thank you so much
Take
for your
care.
time.
I appreciate your patience with me. I hope that it'll be worth it. I hope that your listeners and you gain some insight.